everybody. Happy Wednesday. I hope you're all having a great day today. I'm here a little bit earlier than I normally am, just because my schedule is all over the place today in a good way. I have a lot of stuff going on. I'm going to be photographing an engagement session later today, which is so awesome. I'm very excited about that. So I wanted to still, though, come on here and talk to you guys a little bit. This is probably a conversation that is going to not only help wedding photographers, but also any entrepreneurs in the service industry. Because I think there is this idea in the wedding photography industry, and I think in service industries in general, that when you're an entrepreneur, you can only be successful and continue to grow and be more successful if you add more to your plate. So, this idea that you can't scale, you can't be more successful, more profitable, bring in more clients without adding more things to your to-do list, without then needing to potentially delegate, without then potentially needing to hire somebody else as a part of your team. And while those things are things that do happen, right? I'm not negating that. There, I do want to challenge the idea that you are only able to be more successful if you add more, right? Um, Wave to me if you're here. I'm going to wave to some of you here, just saying hi. Send me little hearts, little emojis, little highs, whatever, because I just want to see you all. If anything that I ever say resonates with you, send me the little hearts anywhere that you are. If you're here on Facebook, if you're here on Instagram. And so we have this idea that, in order to get this result that we want of scaling our business and being super profitable, we have to just constantly be in this hustle mode. But the thing is that hustle mode doesn't last forever and should not last forever. And there are seasons of hustle and there are seasons of ease. And so when we embody this idea that we always need to be on, that we always need to be available, that we always need to be doing, we actually create a huge sense of overwhelm and struggle in our lives. And we just bust our butts to give everybody a super customized experience. And while that is beautiful and amazing, and I do think there's room for that here, I also think that it's not human. It's not paying attention to who we are and why we're here if all we do is live in this swirl of hustle. And I think especially when we're first starting our businesses, we have to be in that season of hustle. We have to be in that season of, oh my gosh, we have to get everything done. We have to register our business. We have to figure out our taxes. We have to figure out our client experience. We have to figure out how to market. We have to figure out how to get onto a good website, right? We have to figure out how to get our names out there. So there is a season, especially in the first couple of years of business, that you are hustling. And it kind of, honestly, if you don't hustle at the beginning, then you can't expect to have explosive growth, right? Because you haven't done the work. And so how could you expect that what you haven't done would actually bring you results, right? But again, it comes to this point in our business that we don't need to be hustling anymore. We just need to be refining. We just need to be looking at what we're currently doing. Could we be doing something here better? Could we be doing something here differently? And it's not just adding stuff to our to-do list. It's actually looking at what we've already implemented and deciding, is this working or is this not? So hustle really shouldn't be a constant season. And a lot of the time for us, we have this idea that hustle and struggle equals worth as human beings and as business owners, and that's not correct, right? We're worthy because we're worthy because we're worthy. We have what's in our toolbox because we have that. That's what we were born with. This is what we've been gifted with, right? And just because, you may take a day off, that doesn't mean that your business is going to fail. Your business wasn't built in a night. It's not going to die in a night. And that's the truth. But sometimes when we're so used to this hustle season, when we're so used to just going, doing, we actually train ourselves that we're not worthy and we're not actually doing well in our business when we're not in that capacity at that point in time. But we can't live there. We can't live in hustle. We can't live in struggle. And who wants to, right? Like at the very beginning, it's very exciting to be hustling for your business. And honestly, for me, I'm an Enneagram 2, but my wing is a 3. And so with an Enneagram 3, I feel very fulfilled when I am getting things done. But that can also take away my ability to focus on the things that actually need to get done. Right? So I may have this long to-do list and I have to actually look at it and refine it and decide what are things here that are actually actively contributing to my business, contributing to my clients, and what are things here that I'm just adding here for the sake of adding them, right? But because because I am potentially coming out of a season of hustle, out of a season of struggle, when I don't feel that way anymore, when I allow myself the release of not feeling like I need to hustle all the time, my brain is like, wait, this is different. Is this safe? Is this good? We know the results that we've gotten here from the hustle. What will happen if I add in the ease, right? It's almost like you doubt yourself here. And so, again, I want to go back to the idea that just because you're busy, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're being successful, right? So there's a difference between busyness, hustling, and success. Sometimes they're linked, sometimes they're not. Sometimes we add things to our to-do list just because we feel like we need to be productive, and those things that we're adding to our to-do list are actually not making us productive, but actually slowing us down. You have to be sure that like your hard, what you're working on that's difficult is actually intentional, right? If you're like, for me, if I'm planning on now implementing these lives as a part of my business plan, which I have been and I really enjoy, and I really do believe that this is success, like a piece of building success in my business, I have to know that this isn't just another thing to add to my to-do list. You have to know that if you're going to implement lives, you have to have a reason. You have to have a framework around it. You have to have an end goal around it, right? It can't just be speaking into the ether. It can't just be adding another thing to your to-do list. It has to have a goal and it has to tie to that end game, right? And so I think sometimes too, we also need to challenge our measure of success. Sometimes when we're very busy, we think that means we're very successful, which is not necessarily always the case. Sometimes when we are very busy, we are very successful, right? There's a lot going on because we've welcomed it in, because we have hustled to get there. But sometimes we just create busyness for busyness. We just create busyness because that's where we feel comfortable, even though at the end of the day, we really don't feel comfortable there. There's so much value in a nap. And when we just live in this busy hustle, we don't give ourselves the freedom and the flexibility to take a nap, to spend time with our families, right? To actually implement different things or refine different things in our business. And so I think sometimes we can think, oh my gosh, like I'm so busy and I'm hustling and I'm successful because I'm answering emails 24/7. I'm editing photos 24/7. I'm responding to client inquiries 24/7. Is that a measure of success? Sure. But how do you want to measure success? Do you want to be on your phone all the time answering emails, or do you want something else set up so that your business is actually running itself? And so where's your measure of success? Is it in the busy, or is it in the automation? Right? There is ease available here, and there will always be an odd balance and an odd tension in your business that pertains to the hustle and the ease, right? There's going to be a season of hustle, a season of ease, and sometimes they intertwine, and sometimes one season can be completely different than the next one that comes to you the next day, right? But if your pricing is weeding out misaligned opportunities, then you're not going to have these busyness, I guess, temptations, right? So a lot of the time when we have opportunities in front of us that are misaligned, or we have opportunities that are in front of us that do not align with our business goals, don't align with the type of client that we want to work with, and we don't say no to them, they actually create more busyness in our business, right? Because we're always having to be on our toes with them. We're always nervous about when they're going to be emailing us, always nervous about when they're going to be texting us, always nervous about what they're going to think about the photos that we deliver. So and a lot of the time that happens when our pricing is not at a point that it needs to be at, especially as wedding photographers. So if you're feeling like you're constantly busy and being run ragged by your clients, number one, that's something that you need to determine your boundaries around that. But number two, what's your pricing doing here? Is your pricing doing its work in weeding out people that are misaligned for you, right? So that it can actually actively take off busyness creators off of your plate. You know, you can make, there's a availability here for you to make the same amount of money from maybe one or two clients as there would be from 3 to 4, and the one or two are going to be much more manageable than the 3 or 4, right? And it's not only just a capacity question, but it's also a respect question. It also then becomes a question of mutual trust, right? And you want people in your life, you want to work with people, you want to call in clients that trust you, and you want to trust them back. You want to call in clients that see you as a person and not as a service, not as a vendor, not as a thing, right? As a person, because you see them as a person, right? So when you have an aligned client, that client will make it a priority to work with you. And sometimes we get so nervous to raise our rates so that we can actually actively take off certain types of clients off of our plate, right? Not people that we've already contracted to work with, but people that, maybe looking at our services, and then when they see our prices, they decide yes or no, right? And so we don't necessarily even want to be shown as an option to some types of clients because they're just not aligned. Like I've said before, that doesn't mean that they're bad people. That doesn't mean that they're scumbags. It just means that you guys are not a good match, right? And so when we raise our prices to a level that they need to be raised to, that aligns well with our business goals and with our personal goals and with the level of service that we're providing, then we're actively creating opportunity to take busyness off of our plate, and we're letting our pricing do its work. And then I also think that there's an opportunity here for automation. So many of us are like control freaks. We're very afraid to delegate. We're very afraid to give access to our business to somebody else. And that's okay, right? Like there's a season in your life in which you can delegate, and a season in your life in your business in which you don't need to, and you may not be at that season yet, right? So it's important to do a gut check there to really understand, is this what I actually need right now, or do I just need automations, right? And so some of us are so nervous, and we're so used to this narrative in our lives of having to be on, having to be accessible, having to be available, having to be answering emails, having to write out the email every single time, when there's actually opportunities for automation here where you could create, custom workflows in your client management system to handle all of these things and to almost preempt a lot of the time what a client may be thinking about, right? So if you've shot, a handful of weddings, you know that at, for example, the 6-month mark, things are starting to be nervy. And so you may want to send a little email to your people saying, hey, I know that you're coming up to the 6-month mark. I just want to let you know, I know that you have a lot of things that you need to tie up at this point in time, and I'm sure you're making some last minute-ish decisions, and I just want to let you know that I'm thinking about you, right? But if you're putting reminders on your calendar to do that, or you're trying to just remember without having the reminders, that can feel very burdensome, right? You're going to look at your calendar and be like, oh my God, I have to send out all these emails. But what if you could automate that? Right? So there's an opportunity here to allow your pricing to, number one, weed out people that really aren't aligned with you, and so then won't create more busyness for you and more struggle and more stress. And there's also an opportunity here to implement automation into your business, into your wedding photography business. There's also an opportunity here that, if you implement these two things, if you implement, higher rates of pricing, then you're going to have more bandwidth to actually look at and jot down and analyze what kind of a workflow you actually want to implement in your business, what kind of a communication workflow you want to implement in your business. But if you're running from thing to thing to thing to thing, session to session, wedding to wedding, you don't even have the capacity to sit down. Right? And so then that comes back to the hustle of, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm so successful because I'm always hustling. And maybe you are really successful and you are hustling, right? But what is actually to you, if you were to sit down and look, journal through, or just think through, or just take a minute to meditate, what would actually be a measure of success for you? Is it the hustle? Because for some people it is, right? Is it the hustle, the running, the moving forward? Or is it knowing that your business can pretty much run itself, that you have automations in place, that you know that the copy that you're creating for your clients is calling out to your people, that your pricing is weeding out people that are not aligned with you, right? So, and there also has to be something too with the hustle season. Are you going to be able to hustle in this way? Maybe you're in your 20s right now. Are you going to be able to hustle in the same way in your 30s, 40s, 50s? How long are you going to hustle for? Is that a real life that you want? These are really big questions. These are questions I've asked myself, you know? For me personally, as I've said before, I'm an Enneagram 2, but my wing is a 3. So I really thrive on helping and doing. But sometimes I just have to shut my computer. Sometimes I have to look at things and be like, it is okay for me to step away for a little bit, you know? If I'm well within my contract delivery terms, nobody is going to die if I don't deliver their photos the next day, right? Because that's kind of an unrealistic expectation. We have contracts in place that lay out expectations for working with us. And of course, we always want to over deliver, right? Of course, that is always the goal. But I don't know anybody that expects to get their photos the next day. And some of us really kill ourselves to be able to deliver photos the next day when that's not even something that we've ever expressed as an expectation in working with us. You know? And so, what do you actually want out of your life? Do you want to run a business so that you can have a more free life? If that's the case, then the hustle doesn't belong here. If that's the case, then the hustle has only a season. Maybe several different seasons, but it's only a season. And so it can't be something that you expect to keep as a way of life for the next however many years. And then thinking into the future too, our bodies get older, our bodies get tired. We require more water, more rest. We require more time with our people. I think this is something that the pandemic has really identified for me, that my life can't be a life of constantly doing. It has to be a life of presence. And I never would have known that if I hadn't taken the time to sit down and really think through these things, right? And the pandemic gave me that opportunity to sit down and be quiet and to listen to these things of what my life really desires to be, my heart really desires to be within. And I'm not saying the pandemic is like amazing, obviously not, right? Obviously not. People are dying. Like, this is not a good time. But I also think that we have to be intentional with what we're actually wanting from our business. Do we want to live in hustle land forever? And if we want to, can we? And I think the answer there is no for anybody. I don't know any person that is a wedding photographer past a certain age, right? And that age may be different for every person. But weddings are beautiful, amazing, and I love them. And right now I have the capacity for them. But it's very possible that I may not have the capacity for them still in 10 years. Very possible, right? They're hard on your body, they're hard on your brain, they're hard on your emotions. And hard is not always a bad thing, right? Hard teaches us a lot. But when we're running our business, again, why are we running it? Do we want flexibility in our businesses? And do we want flexibility to be able to enjoy certain things? If we do, then we need to know that the hustle may not always be the thing that we need to glorify or live within, right? So, it's so much. I think about these things often. I think about them for me, I think about them for you. Because I really think that being an entrepreneur is a very intentional choice, or should be a very intentional choice. And there's a lot that goes into it, and it's a long time of learning. It's a long time of learning and throwing things at the wall and seeing what sticks and determining what our actual priorities are. And so here, what's your priority? Do you think that you can only grow? Do you think that you can only become more profitable if you add more to your plate? If you think that, how sustainable is that? If you think that, then you should trend forward and see what will track for the next 5 years. And would you realistically be able to, without, if you wanted to keep your prices at a certain rate, without bumping up your prices, would you be able to maintain a level of growth over the next 5 years where you're just adding, 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 and feel comfortable with the level of service that you're giving to your clients and feel comfortable with the life that you're creating for yourself and for your family? Right? If you know that you usually get an additional 3 to 5 clients per year and you're at 10 this year, what are you going to be at next year? 15, 20, 25, 30? When you get to a capacity of 30 clients, are you going to be able to show up as well for the 30 clients in 3 years as you did for the 10 this year? These are very real questions, very big questions that you have to ask yourself if you're going to be an entrepreneur. Where's your capacity? Where does the hustle need to stop? And where does the adjustment in pricing need to come in? And where do the automations need to come in? And where does the outsourcing potentially need to come in? Right? Big questions. So these are, again, like I said, things that I think about all the time. And if you are curious about working with me in my mentorship program for female wedding photographers, there's a link in my bio to sign up for a suitability call, and we can chat all about that, or you can always send me a DM. All right. Thank you so, so, so much for joining me today. I hope you all have a great day. Bye.